There is a difference between consequences and punishments, and we can use this difference to make parenting easier and to improve our children's behaviour. When I'm working with children or when I'm with my own children, I always like to think, okay, if they behaved in this way in the big wide world, or if they behaved in this way as an adult, what would happen? Because as adults, there is always an impact from our behaviour. There's a logical consequence to the things we do. If we don't order the food shopping, then we're all going to be hungry. Like, it's logical. It makes sense because it happens as a result of our behaviour. Yet with children, it's really common for adults to feel like, okay, well, they've done something wrong, so we just need to stop that behaviour. So they're screaming in the shop, so that's it, right? We're never going shopping again. But you are, so it's confusing to a child. So children need to have consequences that are logical and natural and that teach them something. We need to have consequences so that things are safe, and so that children understand accountability and that they learn to control their reactions. But it has to come from us. Children need to learn that there's a cause and effect. If they behave in one way, then something happens. But consequences that don't make sense can make the behaviour more challenging. We want to demonstrate that we've got realistic boundaries with our children, and having natural and logical consequences does this because it reduces the behaviour that we don't want to see in the long run. So we really have to think about the consequences that we give our children. And at the end of this video, I'm going to unpick a few of the common challenges that we have with our children, and some of the punishments I've heard in relation to them. But one other thing I do want to say is that consequences don't always have to be negative. All of our behaviour has a consequence. If you get lots of fresh air and sunlight, you're going to feel better. That's a natural and logical consequence. It's a positive one. So with our children, we can have positive consequences like, oh, you've spoken to me so kindly. I'd really love to play another game with you. That is a consequence, but a positive one. Punishments, however, could be things like yelling, name-calling, sarcasm, isolation, anything that kind of makes a child feel guilty or embarrassed, and that's not a logical thing that we've kind of put in place as a means to control their behaviour. And there are lots of reasons why punishments like this don't work. One of the main reasons is that it hurts the parent-child relationship because it minimises your child's feelings. You know, it is okay for them to be angry and to not like going to the shops. It might not be okay to scream, and we might not want them to do that. But it is okay for them to be upset. We don't want to be in a situation where they're hiding their behaviour from us. But we also don't want them to feel fearful. Like, oh, if I behave like this, then I'm going to be in so much trouble. We want to help our children to become intrinsically motivated to do better. And logical consequences mirror real life, like I said about the shopping thing, whereas a punishment doesn't match up with the behaviour. Also with a punishment, sometimes a child will then have a more emotional reaction because they feel like you're being unfair, or they might want to retaliate or get revenge. And it means they might go bigger with their behaviour. It causes their behaviour to be even worse. Punishments also don't teach a child what to do instead. If you're saying to them, right, you've thrown your toys, so I'm throwing all of the toys away, it doesn't help them to learn, okay, well, what am I actually supposed to do with the toys instead? But also with punishments, children can become immune to them. They just get so used to, okay, yeah, when I behave that way, I get sent to my room, or when I behave in that way, then I miss my playtime at school. And then as adults, we're forced to go harder and to go bigger with these punishments because it's not working, it's not improving the behaviour. So what do we do now? So often parents will say to me, I've tried everything, because the things that they've tried haven't worked because they're not based on what children actually need. I'll give you some examples. So we've said about how consequences need to be logical, reasonable, and teach cause and effect. So if you throw your toy, I'm going to take it away. It is okay to take their toy away if they throw it. But if you say, right, I'm taking all of your toys back to the shop, it's focusing on control. It's going to upset them, it's going to hurt them, and it's also not needed. If you keep hitting me, I'm going to move away. Again, thinking back to that real world example, if you hit somebody, if you hit your partner, they're not going to want to be around you. It's not okay to do that. And again, children are going to react out of frustration, but we can be understanding and still have a consequence for that behaviour. But saying things like, well, you've hit me now, so you can't go to the party, it punishes them. It makes them feel worse about the behaviour. It's likely to make the behaviour worse. And all of these punishments I've used here are real life examples that I have seen or I've helped parents with. And just the one on the party, personally, my personal feeling is it's a little bit unfair if a punishment then punishes other children. You know, if you're supposed to be having a play date with a friend and your child is, you know, messing about in the morning, telling them, well, you know, your friend won't be able to come round, it's not fair on the other child either, and there could be a more natural and logical consequence to the behaviour that your child is showing that day. I know you're angry, but it's not okay to scream in my face. You know, I'm going to move away, but I'll be here and ready when you're ready to talk. One I've heard is, stop screaming or we're going to fly home from our holiday. Like, you're not going to leave your holiday. So don't give punishments that you can't follow through on or that don't make sense. The natural consequence of somebody screaming at you is that you move away. If you're not sure whether your consequences are working or whether, like, oh, is that a punishment? Is that a consequence? Ask yourself, is it reducing the behaviour over time? Like, nothing with children stops overnight, really. But the behaviour should reduce in time. You know, if they are throwing a toy and you're saying, okay, you've thrown your toy, I'm now going to take that one toy away, they should then stop throwing their toys. Whereas if you say, right, that's it, I'm collecting up all the toys, that's it, they're all going, I'm chucking them in the bag. Our children shout, they scream, they become distressed, we get more stressed, and all we're really doing in that moment is winding the situation up. Sometimes this can be really hard to hear because sometimes we do these things without meaning to. We just want our children to be lovely, nice people, and we feel as the adults, as the parents, that we need to be the ones to enforce that. But there is almost always, definitely not always, but there is often a logical, natural cause and effect consequence to their behaviour.